Here at Rocket Sloth, we're really big fans of co-op games, and it looks like for once 2019 will actually maybe deliver some co-op games that will be really fun to play. So today we're looking at the best co-op games coming out in 2019, still before the new year. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into this list. First up on this list, coming out really soon actually, with July 26th, 2019, Wolfenstein Youngblood. This game's going to release on Xbox One, PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch, and will allow players to play through a narrative that takes place about 20 years after the end of Wolfenstein II, following BJ Blazkowicz's two daughters looking for BJ, who's apparently gone missing. This game's obviously going to set the stage for Wolfenstein III, and already has some really awesome things associated with it, just like the art style drawing a ton of inspiration from almost the Blood Dragon 80s type feel. And this is going to be the first time that a Wolfenstein game is co-op, which will be really fun to see how they translate that gameplay into a setting for two people. And if you purchase this game, you'll also have a friend pass available, so one of your friends can join you on your playthrough and they don't have to buy the game separately, which is a huge plus if you're a fan of co-op games. Next up, we have Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which is actually a game that just came out not too long ago, but we're still including it on this because it's a cool game if you're looking for something a little bit different, especially for a kart racer that's available on all the major consoles. This is a remake of the original Crash Team Racing that came out back in 1999 on the PlayStation, but also has some new content that was introduced in later versions of the Crash kart games. And honestly, this one's just pretty fun. There's a ton of really great maps that you get to play on, and just the level design that they did here is awesome. Sure, it's easy to draw comparisons to Mario Kart or even Sonic Team Racing, but this game really stands out on its own just because of the art style that's associated with it, along with the likable characters from the Crash Bandicoot universe. Next up, we have Gears 5, which is releasing September 10th, 2019 on Xbox One and PC, and honestly, it's really nice to finally have a new Gears of War game coming out, and this one looks really promising just from how they're kind of re-emphasizing a lot of the things that made the earlier Gears of War games fun, which is cooperative or team-based gameplay. This game's of course going to have a good story mode associated with it, but also from what they've shown off, there's some new game types coming out also that are really going to add a new experience to players who are trying this game out. And the studio developing this game now has a couple of titles under their belt, as they did Gears of War 4, and they also remastered the original Gears of War. We're optimistic that this game's going to be a really refined and fun experience. But next up, we have Borderlands 3, which is a highly anticipated game, as this game's really gone into some deep development for several years now. This game actually looks like not only a return to form for Borderlands, but also a major improvement from the previous titles in the Borderlands series, and it's looking pretty exciting. The 4 characters that you get to play as all look really unique, and just some of the enhancements that they're adding to this game are things that players have really wanted for a long time. This game's going to have a new movement system, there's going to be bosses that have different stages and evolve as you battle them, and what's really interesting here is while the whole shooting and looting genre was pretty much originally born out of the first Borderlands game, the genre as a whole has blown up in popularity, with other games like Destiny and Anthem trying to gain traction in those fields. But when it comes down to it, Borderlands has always done it right since the beginning, and it looks like Borderlands 3 is shaping up to be another killer title that's going to be great to play with friends. Okay, next on our list, we're looking at a game that's technically already released, but it has a really big expansion coming out in September, and we wanted to include it on here because it might be something great to try out if you haven't already played, or you can check out the new content. Monster Hunter World Iceborn. The devs on this game have already gone on to say that Iceborn will provide a ton of new content, stories, and quests, almost similar to the same length as a standalone title, but it looks like they're just trying to keep players mostly in one place, which is a really cool move rather than just releasing a sequel and forcing everyone to buy up. This game will take place after the events of Monster Hunter World and will have a really cool snow terrain, and it also is going to introduce new high rank difficulties, and of course it wouldn't be a great expansion without new weapons and monsters along the way. But next we're looking to GTFO GTFO, which is a new game coming out apparently sometime this year that focuses on 4 players who are needing to work together to find valuable artifacts and, of course, survive. This game will have a bit of just general FPS things along with some resource looting and other types of tools that will play an important role into this game. We don't know too much more about this game, but from what has been shown off, it looks pretty promising, and hopefully the game lives up to the hype that has been built up. Now, of course, we've seen kind of a resurgence in players wanting to play a 4-player co-op game, and we even know Back 4 Blood, which is made by the team who made the first 2 Left 4 Dead games, is also going to be coming out, but that's not set to release until maybe next year. So in the meantime, maybe GTFO will be a great experience that turns out to be really fun. This next one people might not be on board with as much, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This is the reboot to the original Modern Warfare trilogy that was great back in the day, and from what we've seen and heard, it really looks like Call of Duty is going back to its Modern Warfare roots, which was a pretty great time if you were a Call of Duty fan. While the story mode itself will be single player, this game will have a multiplayer where you can team up with your friends and go against other teams, and for the most part it looks like they're really going to be pulling away from the oversaturated DLC model that Call of Duty has been plagued with over the past couple of years, and they're going to be kind of reinventing the Spec Ops mode that was really popular in Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 and make it more emphasized on cooperative play. So that should be really cool to try out, and hopefully it lives up to this hype. This is kind of Call of Duty's last chance to pull something great out and save their franchise. I think Activision and Infinity Ward are well aware of that, and they're going to put something out good this time around, hopefully. So we're really excited to get our hands on this one for sure. Next, we have Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which is looking actually pretty great from what we've seen so far. Lately, it seems like Ubisoft has been on an upward trend of really fixing their franchises and learning from their previous game releases and changing things up so it resonates well with fans. We kind of saw that with The Division 2 earlier this year, and Ghost Recon Breakpoint actually looks like it's taking the formula that was pretty good in Ghost Recon Wildlands and expanding on it to make something even better. This new game really looks like it's going to be narrative driven and tell an interesting story while also placing players in a really interactive and interesting looking atmosphere just in the overall design that this game takes on. It really seems like Ubisoft listened to fan feedback and focused more on realism here, removing a lot of the features that were kind of clunky in the previous entry. For instance, there are no AI companions this time around, just to allow this game to feel more like a solitude experience. So if you're playing through this with a friend, it kind of creates this really interesting and unique dynamic. They also got John Bernthal to come on for motion capture and voice acting, and he's just a great actor and will probably make the story experience really cool. We also have the announcement of Splunky II coming out later on this year. The first game was a really big indie hit, and honestly, just from what we've seen of this sequel, it looks like they're just taking a lot of those elements that were popular and bringing them back here. This game kind of mixes the idea of 2D platforming along with spelunking and finding treasure and supplies and resources, and it looks pretty cool, especially since this new game will have online as a capability, so you can play with your friends while you're at it. Also, later on this year, we're looking at Dragon Quest Builders 2 coming out for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, which is going to focus on making improvements from the previous Dragon Quest Builders game and add a ton of new content, allowing players to do things that players weren't able to do in the previous game. You'll now be able to fly and travel underwater, and they're adding a new fast travel function, which is going to make things a little bit easier, and this game is going to allow up to 4 players for co-op mode. If you've never played through a Dragon Quest Builders game, this game is a lot like Dragon Quest, except it has more of an action role-playing gameplay associated with it rather than a standard turn-based game. And lastly, we wanted to give a quick mention to We Were Here and We Were Here 2. These games already have been out for a couple of years on the PC. However, we're seeing a release sometime this year for the Xbox One, and if you haven't already played these games, they're really fun. Essentially, they are co-op games where you are in 2 different rooms and you communicate through a walkie-talkie with your other player friend, and you have to use the clues hidden throughout the rooms to help your friend or your partner solve the puzzles on their side, and in turn they have to help you solve the puzzles on your side. It's a really unique asymmetrical experience, and it's fun because once you've played through it once, you can play through it again while switching sides and playing from the other side. While there isn't an official release date yet, these games are scheduled to release sometime this year, and we strongly recommend you guys check these out. But that's it for today. These are all the games that you can play with your friends in 2019. Which game are you the most excited for? Leave a comment down below and be sure to subscribe with notifications for more videos like this. We'll see you guys all next time with a brand new video.